Hi everybody, welcome to our webinar today. Today is the first in a series of 6 of a health intensive about detox and cleansing. So detox and cleansing are a huge health trend, and as with any health fad, there is a ton of misinformation to wade through. Dozens of companies want to sell you a detox or a cleansing product or a diet or a system guaranteed to work miracles for your health, your digestion, your looks, your weight. Sadly, many of these products, systems, diets are a lot of great marketing with maybe an impressive celebrity or health guru endorsement and not a lot more. A few are outrageously expensive, and some have even dangerous long-term effects. This webinar series is meant to give you a thorough yet simple understanding of what detox and cleansing are and why we need them. So detoxification is a natural process that your body goes through to remove toxins. It is a daily process that involves several organs and body systems. These systems work together and they're dependent upon each other. Detox is also very commonly used as a term for an in-depth cleanse. A cleanse is a description of when one is using diet and supplements along with lifestyle changes to help clear out your digestive tract or your entire body. So bottom line, a cleanse is a tool to support a full body detox, which you naturally do anyhow, but maybe not as effectively as you could hope. And we're going to talk about that next. So how effective your body's daily detox process is depends on several factors. Your genetic constitution. There are people who have genetic differences that mean that their detox systems are not particularly effective or don't work with specific nutrients that other people genetically can use. Your current level of health is really important. You know, if you have a cold or the flu or some other disease or process in your body that is reducing your health level, it typically also reduces your body's ability to have a really effective detox system. Your dietary nutrients, especially micronutrients, your daily detox is completely dependent on micronutrients. And so if you are missing these, you are not going to have effective daily detox. Your lifestyle choices, if you drink alcohol, if you drink a lot of coffee, if you don't get enough sleep, if you have a stressful job, all of these things can impact how effective your detox systems work and also how much they need to detox depending on how much stress and junk is going into your system. Stressors, because stressors do cause chemicals that your body has to remove. Your external pollution exposure, where you live. If you live in a large city, if you deal with a lot of traffic, you may be exposed to more toxins than somebody, say, living rurally who happens to have an organic garden that they eat out of. So each of these factors into the overall amount of toxins that your body has to remove on a daily basis to stay healthy. And I really love this illustration because it gives us a look at all the different ways your body becomes a dump for toxins. And at the top left, there's geographic stress. These are the external energy disturbances. The Earth's magnetic field can affect us very positively or negatively. High voltage cables, the computer, your TVs, other electronic devices, they can give you electromagnetic toxins. There's radiation if you're exposed to X-rays or nuclear radiation or UV radiation, depending on where you live. And then there's frequency disturbances, and this is not as well understood by modern science, but it's certainly a factor. The color around you, the sounds around you. Science has proven that certain sounds are very stressful to the body and cause you to produce stress chemicals. So that's called a frequency disturbance, and that's all a part of your external energy disturbances. Then you have mental and emotional toxins. You may have belief systems that are more likely to lead you into a disease. Being very negative can cause that. Emotional and physical trauma can cause a toxic reaction in your body. Negative or hurtful subconscious beliefs, and then learned negative patterns. All of these can affect the number of toxins that your body is producing. There's the physical toxins we're exposed to in the world. And first and foremost, and none of us can avoid this, are our metabolic wastes. Just the process of living creates toxins. That's why we have detox systems and daily detox happening. Uric acid and many other things are quite harmful if we can't remove them effectively. Free radicals, they come from a myriad of sources. Digestive waste, if we are experiencing intestinal dysbiosis with bad bugs in our system, if we don't have good digestion, if we are eating poorly and we're unable to have regular bowel movements, all of these can actually add quite a lot of toxins in our digestive tract. And since our digestive tract is one of the main ways that we remove toxicity, it can really plug up and block our entire detox system function. Man-made pollutants. There's chemicals, pesticides, preservatives, smog. There's biological waste, and this would be your viruses, the bad bacteria, parasites, fungi, and other types of organisms that naturally do live in the human body, but they can overgrow and then become a real issue for us. The residue of medical or recreational drugs is a toxic source that many of us don't think of. And then there's inherited toxin, and this gets back to our genetics. We may have a genetic disorder that doesn't allow us to detoxify completely or effectively. And we can actually inherit toxins from our parent, from our mother. A toxin is a poison, and that's might be obvious to some people, but not everybody really realizes that. So internal toxins occur as a natural byproduct of metabolism. And some of the most deadly include lactic acid, which occurs anytime you use your muscles to any great degree. So for example, heavy exercise can cause quite a buildup of lactic acid in your muscles. Urea, uric acid, and creatinine are all very toxic poisons or toxins that are just a byproduct of life itself. External toxins, as I just talked about in the previous slide, are present in our food, our water, our air. And in the modern world, there are significantly more external toxins than our bodies can easily remove. And it is for this reason, using food and supplements that support cleansing and detox can be very beneficial for your health. So to think broadly, the exogenous or the outward toxins and poisons that we are exposed to. And I know I already went through this before, but I like to give lists in several different ways because people learn in different ways. So this is just a list of names, which may be beneficial for some of you looking at this. Exogenous include metals, chemicals, particulate matter, that would be smog, for example, in the air, molds, microbial contamination, and then radiation that can come from your cell phone, light itself, direct sunlight, and medical radiation for some people undergoing radiation therapy. Endogenous, or the ones that the poisons or toxins that we have inside of us, gut-derived toxins, as I talked about, if you don't have a good balanced gut flora. Non-end product metabolites. These are the metabolites that come from metabolism that maybe your body has not been able to finish getting rid of. They actually can become stored in your fat or circulate in your blood and be a significant cause of damage to your body. And we will talk about this more in future presentations. Poorly detoxified hormones. Hormones need to circulate and then be broken down and removed, and not everybody is able to do that. And then catecholamines is something we'll talk about in another presentation. And then there's the toxins of choice. These are things that we don't have to have in our environment, but we're choosing them. And they would include alcohol, marijuana, foods that perhaps are not good for us, like packaged foods or fast foods or foods with a lot of sugar and salt, high fructose corn syrup, eating excess salt, which can be acid forming, which is very difficult for your body, and wheat. So wheat is zonulin. What really it's talking about is, of course, if you are sensitive to gluten, wheat is definitely a toxin to your system. And yet again, another picture, because I really like to give people a lot of different ways to get this information in. There's herbicides, fungicides, insecticides, rodenticides, and molluscicides. These are all different types of animals and plants that want to share space with the crops that we're eating. The healthiest way to handle these are through natural pesticides. There's insects that will eat certain pests. There are other types of like viruses that affect only a single pest. And there are types of plants that will prevent certain types of pests from invading a crop. And of course, there's hand picking off pests and hand picking out the weeds. Unfortunately, all of that is time consuming, and that means it's more expensive. And so most places are going to use poisons to remove these potential problems from your crop. And that's why organic farming is so rare, and it's so important for you if you're looking to clean your body. There's additives that we really need to avoid that are found in many foods. Potassium bromate, E621, E102, E202, E220. What are these things? These are things that either preserve your food or add flavor to your food. They are chemicals. They are not foods themselves. The body does not recognize them as food. Some are directly cancer-causing. Sodium nitrate, for example, is directly cancer-causing. Others simply kill the bacteria in your digestive tract so that they promote other disease processes to begin, and or they create such a toxic overload in your food that you don't really get nourishment out of it anymore. So why we need to deliberately cleanse, I've been talking about now for a few slides. But bottom line, most people are severely deficient in the micronutrients that are essential to have a healthy and complete daily detox processes. And most people eat processed foods of some sort on a daily basis. And by processed foods, I'm not just talking a boxed food, although it certainly does mean that. I'm also talking about foods that are cooked at high heats or foods that are dehydrated at high heats. Both of these will affect the amount of nutrition that you're able to get from that food. Most people are at least slightly dehydrated, and this prevents your body from being able to completely remove the toxins that you create and need to remove on a daily basis. Most people don't get enough sleep. The majority of our detoxification processes occur during that 8 hours of sleep. And if you're getting significantly less sleep, your body is significantly missing out on the time frame it needs to effectively cleanse itself. Most people use some sort of over-the-counter or prescription drug regularly, if not daily. And most people do live in a toxin-filled environment. Between air pollution, water pollution, electromagnetic pollution with phones, TVs, screens, we are subjected to a lot of toxins on top of our own internal toxins, on top of not having what we need to detox effectively, on top of not getting enough rest. It's very additive. Any one of these could cause a little bit of a problem. Add 2 to 3 or more of these, and you have a long-term chronic issue. And now I'm going to show you what can happen to the body depending on the amount of toxicity that your body is exposed to. So in the green on the far left, we start with mild damage to cytoplasmic or cellular components. It could be cloudy swelling, a fatty change in that cell. And at that point, the cell can repair or experience continued stress. Now, if the cell repairs, the tissue goes back to normal. But if it's under continued stress or the repair is not very well done because you're missing nutrients, now your tissue is repaired but with diminished capacity to function correctly. The purple, there's irreversible damage to cytoplasmic components. That means something has poisoned a cell to the point where the cell is not able to function. The best thing is the body kills that cell. And then you have some necrosis. And in a really healthy body, that dead cell is removed and replaced with a brand new cell. But what can happen if you don't have enough nutrition, vitality, or raw materials to create that new cell, you can have death or beginning and then complete loss of organ function. And that's what you see happen with people with eyesight that gets worse and worse, with pancreatic function that gets worse and worse. It is a long-term process. It's not just an overnight thing. In the brick-colored squares or rectangles, you have nuclear and cytosol shrinkage. Now, this can come from aging. It can come from exposure to certain toxins, and it can certainly come especially from radiation damage. And the best thing at that point is apoptosis. And apoptosis is where that cell is put into sleep. The cell is signaled to no longer work. And then you see that goes over to tissue repaired with diminished capacity. Apoptosis doesn't replace that cell with a new healthy cell. It simply makes that cell a zombie cell. And so if your tissue gets overloaded with enough zombie cells, now your tissue is busy supporting cells that offer nothing to your daily health. That is actually, as you age, a major cause of the decline near the end of life. And then in the blue on the far right, you see that there's non-lethal damage to DNA. Now, what can cause this? Free radical damage as a process of metabolism can cause this to every single cell of your body on a daily basis. And non-lethal damage to the DNA can cause a change in the growth pattern if it's not fixed. Now, your body is meant to utilize nutrients to create an enzyme and coenzyme called CoQ10 that repairs that non-lethal damage to the DNA. But if you don't have enough of that CoQ10, there's a change in the growth pattern once that DNA is damaged. And that can result in further damaging called dysplasia, which eventually leads to something called neoplasia cancer. And so DNA damage eventually turns to cancer if that cell cannot be removed and replaced safely. So you can see without detox and cleansing, none of these are great choices, except for the mildest damage where the tissue returns to normal after it's having been repaired. All of the rest of these are on some level harming the quality of your health and life. Next week on our next webinar, we're going to go in depth on the process of detox and then how we can maximize our health by supporting our natural detox system. And in specific, I'm going to be talking about phase 1 of the detox process, and I'll explain what that looks like in our next webinar. Enjoy your week, everybody.